My name's Daniel Hayes. I'm 32. I live in London, and I work as a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm just outside the city. My life, I won't lie, it wasn't exciting, but it was comfortable. I like my routines. Morning coffee, the same walk to the train station, Sophie's smile waiting for me when I got home. We'd been married 4 years, and for the most part, things felt stable. Solid. At least, that's what I told myself. Sophie's a graphic designer, creative, clever, outgoing. The kind of woman who made people feel like they were the only one in the room. I used to love that about her. But now I'm not so sure. It started on a Tuesday morning. I remember because it was raining, classic gray London drizzle, and I had spilled coffee on my shirt. I was already in a mood when I walked into the kitchen. Sophie was standing by the window, staring out like she was watching something only she could see. She turned around slowly when she heard me. "He," she said, voice soft. "He." I mumbled, reaching for the kettle. "You okay?" She gave me this tight smile, the kind that doesn't reach your eyes. "I have something to tell you." I looked up from the mugs. "All right, what is it?" She pulled out a chair, sat down, and motioned for me to do the same. That's when I knew whatever it was. It wasn't small. I sat. She reached across the table, took my hand in both of hers, and said, "I'm pregnant." I blinked. For a second, I just stared at her. Not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. I knew this conversation was coming. Somehow, deep in my gut, I already knew. Still, I gave her a smile. "Wow, that's big news." "I know." She squeezed my hand. "I know the timing's a little crazy, but this is good, right?" I forced a nod. Yeah, of course. It's amazing." But inside something cracked. Because here's the thing, we hadn't been trying. In fact, just 2 months before, we'd had a long, honest conversation about maybe waiting until her next big promotion. That was her idea, not mine. And more than that, something about her felt off. In the days that followed, Sophie became a different person. She started guarding her phone like it was nuclear launch codes, lock screens, whispered texts. She'd smile at nothing, laugh at messages she wouldn't show me. And the late nights? They became a regular thing. "Got a deadline," she'd say, kissing me on the forehead and walking out the door with her laptop bag. But I checked her calendar once. There were no deadlines. One night I asked, "Hey, you've been working late a lot. Everything okay at the studio?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "Yeah, just swamped. You know how it is." I nodded. "Sure, just checking." But inside me, there was a storm brewing. I started paying attention to everything. What perfume she wore before she went to work. How she started taking more time to get ready just to go sit at her desk. I wasn't sure yet, but I had a feeling. And I've learned when your gut speaks, you better listen. So I made a choice that night. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to watch. And wait. They say when your partner lies to you, you don't always catch them in the act. Sometimes you catch them in the silence. I felt like an idiot. The signs were there. The shifts, the little tells. But I ignored them because I wanted to believe the woman I married wouldn't do this to me. But I wasn't going to sit around playing the clueless husband anymore. So I made a call to someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Maya Kent. Maya and I went to university together. She studied criminology, then went private, started her own firm digging into cheating spouses, shady business deals, that kind of thing. I'd helped her with her taxes once. She owed me a favor. She picked up on the second ring. Daniel Hayes. That's a name I didn't expect to see on my phone again. "Hey, Maya. I need a favor. Judging by your voice, I'm guessing this is personal." "Yeah, it's Sophie." There was a pause. Then her tone changed. "You think she's cheating?" "I don't want to, but I think she is." "All right," she said matter-of-factly. "Send me her work address, usual routines, any weird behavior. I'll take it from there." Just like that. No drama. No judgment. Maya didn't waste time. 3 days later, I got a message. You were right. She's seeing someone. Repeated meetups. Coffee shops. Parked cars. His name's Craig Allen. My stomach sank. Craig Allen wasn't just anyone. He was the son of Jonathan Allen, a senior partner at my own firm, a trust fund parasite with a fake smile and a jawline that thought it could get away with anything. I'd met Craig before, shook his hand at an office Christmas party once. He introduced Sophie to everyone as Daniel's lucky wife. I remember that. Now I realized that smug look on his face wasn't admiration. It was ownership. Maya sent me photos. One of them showed Craig and Sophie outside a hotel. She was laughing. He was touching her waist. They didn't even try to hide it. I stared at that photo for a long time, not because I was surprised, but because a part of me was waiting for a feeling that never came. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even angry. I was calm. That night, Sophie came home late again. Her makeup looked too perfect to have just been working. She walked past me on the couch, kissed my head, and said, "Sorry, babe. Long day." I looked up and smiled. "Yeah, you look tired." She smiled back, poured herself wine, and disappeared into the bedroom. She had no idea. And here's the thing, that was my advantage. She didn't know that I knew. And the moment your enemy thinks you're still asleep, that's when you plan your war. I knew everything. She knew nothing. And soon, she'd know what it feels like to be blindsided. You know, the quietest way to expose a lie isn't shouting or confrontation. It's science. And sometimes you have to let science do the talking while you stay silent. After days of lurking in silence, pretending everything was normal, I knew I had to get proof. Not guesses, not suspicions. Proof. I called an old friend from university, Emma. She's a geneticist at a private clinic. She was surprised to hear from me after all these years. "Daniel? Wow, long time. What's going on?" I hesitated. "I need a favor. Something delicate." She didn't ask questions. She just listened. You see, Sophie had taken this non-invasive prenatal test during her pregnancy, a routine check. It involves taking blood from the mother to screen for genetic issues. But that blood also contains fetal DNA. I asked Emma if it was possible to get a paternity result from that blood sample. She said yes, but only if we had access to the sample in mind to compare. Here's the tricky part. I didn't have access to Sophie's blood sample, and she sure as hell wasn't giving it to me. So I got creative. I contacted the clinic under a fake name and explained the situation. They asked for a blood sample from me to compare with the baby's DNA in Sophie's test. I didn't hesitate. I gave my sample the next day. A week later, I sat alone in my flat with the envelope in my hand. My heart was racing, not because I was scared, but because I was ready. I tore open the envelope, and there it was, the cold, clinical truth, staring back at me. Daniel Hayes is not the biological father of the child. I remember sitting back in my chair, blinking like my eyes were playing tricks. Then I laughed, not a happy laugh, more like a bitter chuckle, a mix of relief and rage. That night, Sophie came home late. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she walked in. She glanced at me and said, "Hey, sorry I'm late. We had a long meeting." I looked up and smiled. "Long day, huh?" She nodded, pouring herself a glass of wine. I watched her, quiet. Finally, I said, I went through some old medical files today." She looked up, puzzled. "Oh, why?" I kept my voice calm but steady. "Just curious, especially about that prenatal test you had." She froze. Her smile slipped for a moment. "Why? What about it?" I took a breath, then said, "I got the results. From the clinic." She stared, eyes wide. I continued, "The baby's DNA doesn't match mine." She dropped her glass. The wine spilled onto the floor. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then she whispered, "How did you—" I cut her off. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to know the truth. She looked away. You don't understand. I shook my head. No, I understand more than you think. Sophie's family was planning a big baby shower, full of laughter, gifts, and lies. And I had made up my mind. If this was going to end, it was going to end in front of everyone. Because some lies are too big to hide in whispers. That day, the room was bursting with joy. Pastel balloons, flowers everywhere, the hum of happy conversations filling the air. Friends and family gathered to celebrate Sophie's pregnancy, toasting to new life and bright futures. Everyone except me was smiling, because I was holding a secret that would shatter all of this. Sophie moved through the crowd, glowing with the excitement of motherhood. Her mother wiped tears from her eyes. Our little girl is going to have a baby. What a blessing. Her father smiled proudly. We're so happy for you, Sophie. They all believed in the story Sophie had told them. The story I knew was a lie. I had already told Sophie about the DNA test, about what it revealed just hours ago. Her reaction was everything I expected: panic, denial, anger. She begged me not to ruin the baby shower. But I knew I couldn't let this lie stand, not in front of everyone she had fooled. So, when the time came, I stood up and took the microphone. The room quieted immediately. Everyone's eyes on me. I said, "Thank you all for coming today. We're here to celebrate Sophie, her baby, and the new life ahead." I paused, letting my words sink in. But some truths need to be said, even if they're uncomfortable. I pulled the DNA test results from my pocket and held them up. Earlier today, I told Sophie the truth privately. Now I'm telling all of you. The room fell silent. Sophie's smile vanished. Her eyes locked onto mine, fear mixed with desperation. This test shows I am not the biological father the baby Sophie is expecting. I said clearly, voice steady. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sophie's mother gasped. "How could you?" Sophie's face crumpled. "Daniel, please." She whispered. From the back of the room, I caught movement. Craig, the man Sophie had been seeing behind my back, was trying to slip out the door. "Craig, wait." Sophie shouted, but it was too late. He disappeared into the night. The room erupted: shock, anger, betrayal. Sophie's family looked at her with disbelief. Friends whispered behind cupped hands. And I stood calm, watching the mask fall from everyone's faces. Revenge wasn't about screaming or fighting. It was about letting the truth speak loudest. That day, the lie died in front of everyone. And with it, my pain began to heal. They say revenge is sweet. I disagree. Revenge is silence. It's that heavy, suffocating quiet that finally drowns out the storm raging inside your chest. After I exposed Sophie at the baby shower, nothing was the same. The smiles disappeared, replaced by whispers and pointed fingers. Sophie's family? They shut her out like she was a stranger. Her mother stopped answering her calls. Her father avoided me at work, as if my presence reminded him of the betrayal. And Craig, the man who thought he could play with lives and get away with it. His own family crushed him. Within days, his father forced him out of the company he'd been groomed to inherit. No goodbye. No second chances. Just a cold slap of reality. A fall from grace, so steep it echoed louder than any revenge I could have planned. As for me, I took back control of my life. I filed for divorce. The legal process was exhausting. Countless meetings, papers, and whispered threats behind closed doors. But I stayed firm. I wasn't just fighting for money or paperwork. I was fighting for my peace of mind. I secured what was fair, financial compensation that reflected my years of commitment and trust. Money wasn't the goal, but it was the armor I needed to walk away with my dignity intact. Then, I returned to my quiet life as an accountant in London. No grand gestures. Just a familiar rhythm of numbers and balance sheets. A world where truth and precision ruled, unlike the chaos I'd left behind. Every day, I wake up with the knowledge that I'm no longer tied to a lie. I'm no longer Sophie's husband. I'm no longer the father of a child I never fathered. But most importantly, I am the guardian of my own honor, the keeper of my own truth. You see, sometimes the greatest justice isn't about revenge. It's not about making someone suffer. It's about reclaiming yourself, standing tall when everything around you crumbles, and knowing that no matter what, you never lost your integrity. I want anyone listening who's been betrayed to hear this. Your pain is valid. Your anger is justified. And one day, the truth will find its way out louder than any lie. So when that day comes, don't be afraid to let it be heard. Because sometimes the price of a lie isn't just what others pay, it's what you refuse to pay by staying silent.